Good morning and welcome to Spotlight in Business. I'm Tammy Defoe, president and founder of GTApreneurs. I have the pleasure of introducing to you today Andrew Mahorn. He's a business consultant with LMN Accounting Solutions, and he will be the guest speaker at GTApreneurs March 13th virtual business networking event at 12 o'clock. The link to register is below. But before then, let's get to know Andrew a little bit. Thanks for coming on the show today, Andrew. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, excellent. Very good. So tell us more about yourself.
As I mentioned, I'm a business consultant with LMN Accounting Solutions, specializing in accounting, and we are your small business finance department. I operate a small team of four. We have myself as the consultant, an accountant, bookkeeper, and an executive assistant as well. And we've been operating for 10 years now. Last year was our 10th year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. So how did you get into the accounting field?
Well, that is a long story. But initially, my wife started the company 10 years ago, initially as a side hustle, but then it started to grow steadily. And so eventually, 7 years ago, I left my job, went back to school, and then started to manage the business full time. So I'm typically the main point of contact for most clients. And then I work with the accountant and the bookkeeper behind the scenes to complete the work, and then I review with the clients on a regular basis.
Fantastic. That's amazing. Yeah. And because accounting is something we need, right? I mean, even like
Yeah,
people you don't have a business, right? I mean, you still need to get your taxes done and things like that, especially if you have complicated return. But as business owners, and we know so many business owners, we need the accountant, right? I mean, we can't be experts at everything, but what we do in accounting, and I know that accounting is not my favorite thing to do. So there you go. You
it's
should hopefully always have business,
it's not too many people's favorite thing at all, but really
right?
that's why we exist. And, the
Exactly.
rules change every year,
Yeah.
and so we take it upon ourselves to maintain the books and then review them with the clients on a regular basis to ensure they understand their own reports and understand the implications of them when it comes tax time.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, I mean, I've had an accountant in the past before, and there was no explanation. It was like, okay, your bookkeeping's done, and I submitted stuff. It's like, okay, well, how helpful is that really for me in terms of making
Yeah,
the business decisions, you know?
that is one thing that we pride ourselves on. Just the relationship, the conversation, the explanation of the reports. It's not just here your reports, see you next year.
Right.
It's here's your reports for the quarter. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about what they mean in
Yep.
relation to last quarter or last year,
Mhm.
and what it could mean for the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. People need that. They need the education, right? And they need someone who can be like a partner with their business.
Exactly. We come
Yeah.
alongside them and to maintain their reports and have that conversation. We try to have it at least every quarter, but that may vary depending on the volume of transactions.
Hmm.
But that's really what we do. And even on the presentation on Wednesday, we're not going to get too much into taxes because it's even though it's tax season, that's what a lot of people think that's what I'm going to be discussing. But really, a lot of people skip right over financial reports to taxes. But really, they kind of miss out on what I think is the most important area are
Hmm.
those financial statements for management purposes.
Yeah.
You have to first of all have those reports to review them for management purposes, for business decisions before
Mhm.
you even get to taxes. So I like to talk about that piece that a lot of people seem to forget about or don't spend enough time on, and they just aren't jump right into taxes. But there is a pretty big step before we get there that people neglect unwillingly.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we need to know, what have we been doing? Like, is what we're doing working? We can keep doing the same thing, right? Or should we be changing something? Like, do we more of something, less of something in that? And if unless you have that information with you and you have someone else explain that to you, then, you can just keep doing the same thing. And if you're doing the same thing and it's just making you tons and tons of money, well, fantastic. But even then, you can find ways for them to be more
Exactly.
profitable, right? Maybe you're still spending more than you need to spend.
Yeah, it's what I call an analysis, vertical analysis or horizontal analysis. Comparing this year or this period to last year or last period. Comparing your expenses to your sales or to your revenue. And also a couple of years ago, I think it was BDC in combination with the government launched um, a tool online that allows business owners to compare their business against other business in the same industry. I thought it was really cool.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, just the ability to compare your reports, maybe your sales, the cost of goods sold, depending on your industry to other industries in Canada. Because really, the Bank of Canada or the CRA has all that data.
Right.
So it's kind of nice to compare, where do I as a business owner in my specific industry compare with other businesses of maybe a similar size across Canada. So I think that is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh my God, I never heard of that before. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Well, look, it sounds like you got all kind of tricks up your sleeve. So I'm looking forward to your presentation on Wednesday. Before we go now, is there any type of client success story you've had recently that you want to share with us?
Hmm. There's always a bunch. I'm trying to think of a good one. Well, you know what? I'll share this one. And this happens very often, but for the first time, it's always special. The importance of bookkeeping. A lot of business owners, they jump right into sales and revenue, which is good. Um, but they don't necessarily see the value in bookkeeping until that first year when they actually have it done. So in this example, there was a new immigrant that recently came to Canada. He was into construction, operating for 2 years, and then he gets this, letter from CRA, it's time to file. And so he knew that he had, well over $250,000 in revenue, which is great. But then the question is, he wasn't tracking his expenses to whittle his profit down. So,
Ooh.
nobody wants to pay, taxes on $250,000. So the bookkeeping needs to be done to figure out where his expenses are coming from. And so, we went through his bank statements, we went through his credit card statements, went through his receipts, completed his financial statements for the 2 years. And it wasn't until then that he really saw where his money was going, where he was spending his money on.
Mhm.
And meals and entertainment is always a big one. No one realizes how much they're spending on meals and entertainment until they see how much they spent in a year. Uh, you know, um, he realized that his cost of goods sold, the cost of his construction materials was very high. He realized that his employees also, cost of employees was much higher than he thought. So it was really at that point that we're able to have a good conversation and really analyze, okay, well, how can we bring these expenses down? What can you do in your industry? Or what other business decisions can you make to bring these expenses down? Now, it's always a two-edged sword because you bring your expenses down, your profit increases, and your taxable income increases as well. So it's a bit of a two-edged sword, but really seeing where his money went for the first time was a huge eye-opener for him, and he was able to make some good decisions. And then to add on to that, as I mentioned, decreasing your expenses only increases your taxable profit. And for some people, that is an interesting problem to have. And so at that point, we can have the conversation where, spend strategically. And one example I always give, if you're in the construction industry, really, or whatever industry you're in, if there is a construction company owners conference in Hawaii, definitely go, treat it as a business expense.
There you go.
And so I always say combine business expenses and personal expenses together strategically.
Mhm.
I call it strategic expenses, strategic spending. So yeah, is it really once the reports are complete, then we can start to have those interesting conversations, but it requires the financial statements to be complete first.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I mean, people, maybe they can invest in something else though, too, right? Like it's like
Exactly.
use it for something. But look, that's all the time we have for today, Andrew. So thanks so much for coming today. I'm really looking forward to your presentation on Wednesday. And everybody out there, make sure you register for Wednesday's event. Great opportunity to meet potential clients and referral partners and promote your business and, of course, learn something new. So you have a great day, Andrew.
Thank you. Looking forward to